That iconic image of witches zooming through the night on broomsticks. It's not just a Halloween cliche. It's packed with history, folklore, and cultural vibes. Over the years, this quirky connection has shifted, showing just how society's views on women, magic, and all things supernatural have evolved. Come hop on my broom and let's take a fun ride through the ups and downs of this iconic witchy symbol and where it actually comes from. This is the Spirits and Spells series on Connected in the Den, Spooky Stories Unveiled. In this series, we'll explore spine-tingling tales of witchcraft, ghostly encounters, and enchanting folklore that might leave you on the edge of your seat. From mysterious spirits lurking in the shadows to the bewitching powers of ancient spells, we'll explore eerie connections between the living and the mystical. Okay, my beloved darlings, I'm spending this spooky season in Canada versus the Caribbean, so I am way more in the mood for all things fall and witchy and ghostly, and I was like, why don't we just do a little spooky deep dive? So I wanted to connect in a few episodes on some witchier things, some history, some ghost stories, and I thought we would kick it off with the connection of broomsticks and witches. Let's go to the roots of witchcraft first. Let's start it off with a little bit of history here. The roots of witchcraft are traced back to ancient civilizations, where often women were recognized as healers, herbalists, the wise ones. In many cultures, these figures held significant roles as guardians of knowledge about medicinal plants, natural remedies, whipping up tinctures and teas for healing. The term witch originally covered a whole wide range of practices, including a deep respect for nature and spiritual healing. But then came colonization, and obviously things took a major dark turn, and the perception of witches began to shift very drastically. So with the rise of the patriarchy, the Christian church, a whole lot of societal chaos basically led to the demonization of anyone practicing folk healing or just defying social norms. The witch hunts that followed, especially during the 15th to 18th centuries, were a super dark time in history. Like, these hunts resulted in the execution of thousands and thousands of accused witches. Back in the 15th to 18th centuries, there were all sorts of reasons why someone might be labeled a witch, often thanks to the wild mix of, like social drama, cultural quirks, political shenanigans of time. There's so many reasons why someone might have been accused of being a witch. And now this was basically a time when society was like in turmoil. So we're talking, the 15th to even into the 19th, early 19th century. Think wars, plagues, tough economic times. People's fear of the unknown totally just shot up. And in that kind of climate, we're eager to find someone to blame, and witches made perfect scapegoats. Think about also community conflicts like personal grudges, jealousy, rivalries, that often led to accusations if someone hit a rough patch like a bad harvest or getting sick or even death. Those already on the outskirts or not well liked often ended up taking the heat. You would basically be accused of witchcraft simply for being a woman. Women, especially those who were single, widowed, or older, were prime targets for witchcraft accusations. And this shows how society truly viewed femininity as either weak or malicious, pushing women outside of traditional power circles, women who stepped outside gender roles like healers, midwives. Those savvy with herbal remedies were often just seen as a threat to the status quo, which is what got them accused of witchcraft in the first place. Not to mention the rise of Christianity, which brought a wave of negativity towards pagan practices and folk beliefs as the church tried to assert its power. Anyone straying from accepted religious norms could easily find themselves accused of witchcraft. Belief in magic and the supernatural was like all the rage. So any strange happenings were often blamed on witches, accusations frequently stemming from misunderstandings of natural events or, just plain old unexplained phenomena, spirit contact or extraterrestrial contact. These were all misunderstandings and obviously, lack of education, which would just lead to wild accusations of witchcraft. Then we have the colonization of enslaved people, which significantly amped the accusations of witchcraft in so many ways. When the colonizers forcibly brought enslaved people from Afro-Latin, Indigenous, and Indian countries and communities, this brought diverse spiritual beliefs and practices that really conflicted with European norms. And then this cultural clash made colonizers even more suspicious, leading to more witchcraft accusations against those practicing these unfamiliar traditions, right? Mixing European superstitions with African spiritual practices really led to a lot of misunderstandings, and still do today. Rituals that seemed strange or threatening to colonizers were often branded as witchcraft. And, this only fueled the fire of fear and suspicion. Oppressive colonial laws often made it easy to target enslaved people with witchcraft accusations since they had few rights. So it was really simple to accuse them without facing any real consequences. A large part of history and witch trials excludes the killing of accused witches within the enslaved people because they most often weren't even given a trial. I'll go deeper into the trials in another episode. Now, there is such an empowering part of witchcraft that we still see carried out in modern day, but in times of social and, political upheaval, communities have used witchcraft as a form of resistance against colonization and the patriarchy. By reclaiming and embracing the label of witch, we assert our autonomy and independence and challenge societal norms, not only for ourselves, the witches, and yes, I identify as a witch, but our communities as well. Witchcraft can serve as a way to preserve cultural traditions and identity. By practicing traditional rituals and beliefs, our communities can maintain a sense of connection, to their heritage and lineage. Many communities, then and modern day, look to witchcraft for herbal remedies and healing practices. Individuals, often women, help their communities cope with illness and injury, empower others by teaching practices and ways of life, guiding others to strengthen their connection to spirit and nature. Witches are herbalists, doulas, artists, energy healers, tarot readers, astrologers, mediums, womb keepers, and I'm not saying that they all identify as witches, but individuals in these roles often embrace natural healing, spiritual growth, and a deep connection to nature, spirit, community, really embodying aspects of what it means to practice witchcraft in a modern context. All right, so let's get to the broomstick connection. Broomsticks emerged as a symbol really closely associated with witchcraft during the 15th to 18th centuries. Brooms were common household items, mainly used by women, so it was easy to associate them with witchy stuff and made them an easy target for symbolic, association. Since witches were Often depicted as these malevolent, evil figures, the broomstick became like an emblem of their supposed powers. The notion of witches flying on broomsticks is believed to have been popularized through, these stories and folk myths and public confessions that happened during the witch trials. Many accused witches would claim that they'd flown off to sabbats or meetings with other witches where they would supposedly hang out with other demons and ghouls. These confessions often were forced through torture or coercion, which fed into the spooky myths, around witchcraft. And I'm not saying that some of these confessions, some of them were probably truth, but a lot of them were forced because of the torture that they would put these people through. And then the image of witches riding broomsticks really took hold in folklore, painting these figures as both spooky and fascinating, piquing people's curiosity. The broomstick came to represent the witch's dual nature. We're powerful enough to heal, but we can also cause harm, right? It's the reality. In some cultures, brooms are used for protection and cleansing, and that adds to their meaning. The connection got even stronger through art and literature, where witches were often shown with broomsticks and pointy hats and mixing brews and cauldrons. This portrayal helped make the broomstick a really lasting symbol of witchcraft, especially during Halloween and, in pop culture. The cool thing about the flying of the broom, like the witches and the brooms and stuff, I find pretty fascinating because there are some texts that talk about witches using quote unquote flying ointments, which were made from hallucinogenic herbs. These potions were thought to help people enter into basically altered states of consciousness, right? It led to intense visions, including the sensation of flying. The idea that, applying these ointments, witches could tap into a different realm of experience. The broomstick became a key part of this imagery, often shown as the tool that they used during these rituals. It wasn't just a mode of transportation. It symbolized the journey into those altered states and the super cool mystical experiences that would come with them. And these flying ointments were made from various herbs known for psychoactive properties like belladonna and henbane. When combined, the ingredients would create like a super powerful, intense effect, which would allow the receiver to feel as if they were like soaring through the skies and entering into these altered states, which allowed the connection with beings from the unseen realms. So as the tales grew, the broomstick became basically this go-to symbol of witchy magic, boosting the idea that witches had some seriously out of the ordinary powers, right? This connection made witchcraft super intriguing, but it also sparked some fear since, folks often misunderstood what the trippy experiences were really about, These days, the image of the witch and her trusty broomstick has really evolved. We see different versions of broomsticks nowadays, even little miniature versions that are made of, sacred smudging sticks, right? While it all started with a history filled with fear and persecution, modern witches were flipping the script and we're stepping into this empowerment. We're reclaiming the broomstick as a symbol of home power, spiritual cleansing, and a solid connection to nature. The saga of witches and our broomsticks is a colorful mix, a blend of fear, myth, cultural change. And when we look closely at this connection, we uncover really deep insights into how society has continued to view witchcraft through the ages. For me, the link between witches and broomsticks reminds me of the wild mix of fear, excitement, empowerment, and cultural meaning all at play. And when we dig into the history, we see how society's attitudes shape how we view magic and the people who practice it, the stereotypes that come with it, and the support that also comes with it. So whether you are hopping on a broomstick for a midnight flight or just using it to sweep away the cobwebs, remember, witches and our trusty brooms, we're here to stay. We've gone from feared figures to symbols of empowerment, proving that magic and a little bit of mischief can transform the mundane into extraordinary. So go on, embrace your inner witch, because who the heck wouldn't want a bit of that magical flair in their life? You are a gem for making it all the way through. If you enjoyed what you heard, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast wherever you are streaming this episode. Your support means more than you know. Sharing these chats with your friends and family helps us reach more fabulous listeners like you. Don't forget to follow us on social media at The Wandering Lioness for updates and exclusive content. Together we can continue to inspire and be more fabulous. My friend, be curious, be inspired, and be blessed. I'm Christiane. This is Connected in the Den.